Phil White. It's not an optical illusion, it just looks like one. In 2018, I had just started honing my self-taught oil painting skills when I heard a voice say, "Paint impossible." This meant to me, paint optically shifting paintings that someone could really get into. So, for the past 3 years, I've been pushing the boundaries of what paint and illusion can do. Today, I'm going to share with you some of the master secrets I've learned along the way. The 3 main techniques I use to paint impossible paintings are classic illusions, directing eye movements, and creating perception through intention. First things first though, how do optical illusions work? Well, according to an article on science.com, How Optical Illusions Work, what the eye sees isn't always understood by the brain. So essentially, our brain will create shortcuts to fill in the missing pieces. These shortcuts create a kind of communication loop between your eyes and brain. This is what causes static images to seemingly move. Now that that's been taken care of, let's look at a few of the classic illusions I use in art. First is the cafe wall. Black and white tiles are slightly offset in such a way that parallel lines appear to be slanted. Look for this pattern in my work, but it will be there in rainbow, not black and white. Speaking of patterns, the classic snake illusion uses a tonal pattern to create a sense of movement. Demystified, the pattern used is medium tone, dark tone, medium tone, followed by a light tone. Put together and repeating, this pattern creates a strong sense of movement in still images. Then there is the herring illusion. This illusion overwhelms your eyes with its dark background and contrasting intersections. Your brain then tries to fill in the gaps and creates dots where there are none. What does this look like when I combine these techniques and add in all the colors of the rainbow? Well, I get a piece I call Jackie's Rose. Jackie's Rose uses a patterned rainbow palette, herring illusion background, and when looked at with 3D glasses, she puts on quite the show. Speaking of shows, I'd like to direct your attention to my second technique, directing eye movements. Because we live in America, most of my audience was trained to read from left to right and to start at the top of any rectangle or square in the top left corner, even if they're not aware of doing so. My job is to take you from that top left corner and take you on a journey through the painting. This next piece is called Under Refracted Pier. I intentionally overwhelm the viewer in the top left corner, but simplify as the eye moves downwards and right. Doing this, the viewer's eyes have no choice but to focus right here at this center point and creating a real sense of actual depth. By allowing the peripheral vision to fall off and relax, the paint seems to fall off the canvas. Now, if you've ever taken a geometry class, you're familiar with this next concept, the Fibonacci spiral. I use it here, and everybody's favorite, the bubble painting. You can clearly see a direct arrow from the top left corner directing you to the center bubble in this area right here. The Fibonacci spiral is special for many reasons, but in this case, I use it to create a sense of relaxation. It also happens to be one of the rare shapes created by nature, which both eyes and brains can really agree upon. The final technique I use to paint impossible is creating perception through intention. This next piece is called Internal Struggle. Several of the techniques I've gone over are subtly used here. But as I said before, I'm here to push limits. The reference photo for this piece was taken by a photographer in South Africa, but having an interest in chaos theory, I saw it as a great way to illustrate a Lorenz attractor. To save you a lecture, I'll just say it's not every day one sees the butterfly effect, illustrated by Angry Birds. In conclusion, these are just a few of the techniques I use to paint moving paintings. I hope this helps you to see art and the world around you just a little differently. But as John Lubbock said, what we see mainly depends on what we look for. I trust I've adequately illustrated how I use classic optical illusions, directing eye movements, and creating perception through intention to paint the impossible.